Those Were the Days is filmed before a live internet audience.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome into the program. We're here to talk about classic television. And if you look over at the board here, what you can see is there's the letter T and a garden hose and the letter S, and that is those. We have a picture of a werewolf, but we're removing wolf from that. So it's where or were. We have the word the, and then a day calendar with an S or days. Those Were the Days. That's the show where we talk about classic television through a modern lens with nostalgic eyes. And this month, we are talking about game shows. And if you haven't figured it out by now, that was a Rebus puzzle. And the game show we are talking about is one of my favorites, Classic Concentration. I remember watching this show a lot growing up. It ran in reruns, I think, until I was like 13 or 14. It also, there was a PC game for it, and I played that a lot. But I can't do this by myself. I might be the host, TV's Travis, but I need contestants for the game show. And one of them, a cartoonist from Georgia, is Audie.
And here's the computer you just won. The Apple IIc personal computer. Sleek and portable with built-in disk drive, standard 128K memory, and RF modulation. Wait, that's it? That's all we're telling them? I mean, come on, it's got a 1/8-inch mono audio jack. It's got serial ports for a printer and modem, an extra floppy port connector. It's even got a pull-out handle to make it portable, but also acts as a stand so you can angle up the keyboard portion for typing. I mean, it's only 7.5 pounds. Tell me another full computer that light. What? I dig computers. These Apple guys know what they're doing. Fine, I'll just read the simple description. Sheesh.
And my contestant to the left, she's a podcaster from the greater Boston area. It's Amy.
Listen, things have been going really great since I came out here to LA. What? No, I haven't really landed any acting gigs yet. No, and what? No, the composing's kind of I'm hiatus. No, the screenplay. No, that's coming along. No, yeah. No, nobody's read it yet. No, but I did a stint on a game show. Yeah, I won like a desk clock and a personal computer and a I won a dining room set. I won 2 cars. Yeah, 2 cars. Yeah, I'm living in the back of one right now, but otherwise things are going really great for me.
And of course, we can't have all these wonderful prizes without somebody to model them for us. It's Steven.
Hello, I'm Alex Trebek's inner monologue. There's nothing quite like leaving it up to normies on set to fill the dead space between their turns, and my soul dies a bit every time I have to do it.
So we are talking about Classic Concentration. Okay, first of all, I have to say this. I had completely forgotten that it was Alex Trebek that hosted this.
That was
I
a
was floored.
shocker.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, and I don't know why, I had it in my head that it was like Chuck Woolery or
That's
somebody like
because
that
Chuck
hosted the
Woolery
show.
did every show in
Well,
that
this is
era.
true. That's a good point. But I'd completely forgotten it was Trebek at all. So Classic Concentration was actually the second iteration of Concentration had been around for a while as a game, but a game show, it started in the 50s and ran for a few years. Ended up going into syndication for a while. I think it was on, I want to say ABC. But then Price is Right started and started eating its lunch. And they ended up canceling it and then bringing it back. And it ran for another 4 years, I believe. They did something like 1,000 episodes of this show over the course of 4 years. And it ran and continued reruns until the mid 90s. And now it's on the game show channels and all that kind of stuff. But it was a very simple rebus puzzle. And you would have a grid of 25 squares, 2 contestants. You would choose squares, and if they matched, you won that prize, and it became part of your prize board. But you didn't win your prizes unless you also solved the puzzle. So, and it started off with just the prizes and wild cards, which were always the good ones to get because that cleared you 3 squares off the board. And after every match, you got a chance to solve the puzzle. There was no like penalty for not getting it correct. Um, but later on, they also introduced red and green takes, they called them. And if you matched up the two red takes or the two green takes, you got the ability to steal one of your opponent's prizes.
Oh, snap.
Oh
Ooh.
Grandma's
no.
going to
So
get the croquet set.
Yeah.
yeah, it added an extra layer to things now because there would be some gamesmanship because maybe you might get the take, but then your opponent could get the other one and grab it back from you.
I
So
gotta
that
get
was a
that.
thing.
I gotta get that e-tronic typewriter.
Yes. And prizes would range from electronic typewriters. They had one was I watched there was an exercise bike with a reading stand on it. So you could
Yes.
prop your book
There
up.
you go.
They would have trips and
Puerto
all
Vallarta.
Yeah,
yeah,
Let's
man.
go,
all over
Alex.
the place.
Look. If somebody's gonna pronounce something, it's gonna be him. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's a no-brainer for him to go to Jeopardy after this because there's gonna
See,
be
I mean, that's the
crazy
thing, right?
names.
I think that's why we forget it's Trebek. This feels very beneath Trebek.
Oh, so beneath him. So
Mhm.
beneath
It
him.
kind of does, yeah. Um, I did also like so another prize that they added later on was a cash pot that would grow every day it wasn't won by $100.
Oh, snap.
So you could get up to I saw episodes where it was $1,200, $1,500 cash pot.
Oh wow.
On top of you could win cars. So there were basically two different rounds. The the main game would be two contestants going against each other, but whoever won that would get to go to the final round where you had a grid of I think it was 15 squares
Yeah.
and you had to match up. They were cars and they had 7 or 8 different cars and you had to match. You had 35 to 40 seconds to match as many of them as you could. And if you cleared the board, you won. The last one that you matched was the car that you won. Early on, you could win multiples. I think later on in seasons, they would, if somebody won a car, that would end their run and they would move on.
Yeah.
Because the episode that we
Warren.
watched,
Yeah.
the episode that we watched, the guy won 2 cars and was trying for a third.
Two beautifully boxy sedans.
Mhm.
God, I
Oh
miss
boy,
the
were
80s.
those?
They were Minecraft-tastic.
We went from an unbelievable amount of style in the 70s with
Yep.
everything looking so sleek to just RoboCop, just boxes for
Uh-huh.
cars we drove around in, and we thought this is style. Like,
We're like,
no.
what
And
if
not only
what if a 4-year-old drew a car?
Yes.
Great, make that.
It was
exactly.
like 'cause it
Yep.
was functionalism archicecture, but car form. You know, it's like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Soviet block level
Realist
apartments
automotive.
made into cars.
Yeah, because you would have like the Ford Tempo, the Toyota Tercel. They'd have there was a Daihatsu
Yeah.
that somebody won. All these.
Nice.
An episode I watched later on had like all of those cars and then a Jeep Wrangler. Like
Sure.
one of these things sticks out a little bit. I don't know, but and it was it was a pretty popular show for a number of years. I watched the hell of it. What I want to know is, did any of you watch it growing up? Starting with Steven, did you ever watch Classic Concentration?
No, I didn't know this was a thing. I had no clue. This was great. I was like, what even is concentration? And then after I watched it, I was like, oh, this is the game I used to play with my friends. We called it Memory, but
Mhm.
it's memory plus a
Plus.
rebus puzzle, which I learned that
Yep.
word today from you, Travis, because I didn't know what you called these. So
Uh-huh.
now I know. I'm being educated left and right on this show. We do.
Excellent. Audie, how about you? Did you watch any Classic Concentration growing up?
I am absolutely in the same boat as Steven. Didn't know it existed. And so when Alex Trebek shows up, I'm like, he did something other than Jeopardy? Really? Wow. Impressive.
Amy, how about you?
I didn't know it was a TV show, or maybe I did at the time. But I did have the computer game that I definitely purchased for $2 on a 5 1/4 floppy disk. And I played it constantly. I always won the car, and I was very good at making sure that I knew where the good car was and
Oh yeah.
saved that one for last. And used to get really mad if I matched it by accident. You know, if you just happen to randomly match the Corvette or whatever dumb thing they put on there, and you're like, oh, darn.
Yep. And you end up
Corolla.
with the Tercel instead.
Yeah. That was
And
fine. It
listen,
was my favorite, and I definitely This is going to be a tough category for me, boys. I did a lot of yelling at people on TV. History in the making. Come on. Get your head in the
So
game. It's clearly pointing at the thumb, Warren. I was happy Warren
so
lost, though. I pictured Warren in the back during the second game being like, I lost to these two. What?
Oh yeah.
what I love is when they lose too, because Trebek would go up afterwards, and you could tell he was doing like the weatherman thing where he was
It was
looking
very
off
good.
screen at the monitor
Yeah.
and pointing out everything that was displayed, and he would explain the puzzle, and then he would bring the winning contestant down off of the game stage, and the game stage would just get yanked out of frame with the loser on
Yeah,
it.
it did.
You'd always see that person kind of shuffle as they weren't ready for it. They're getting the hook.
So
Um,
good.
That
Yeah, it definitely
display.
felt like the Muppet Show hooking somebody
Oh
off
yeah.
stage.
That display, by the way, was a special color blue that we all recognize as the blue that goes on a computer screen. It's just
Mhm.
that blue
Yep.
is used somewhere. It's the only blue they can make. And it's red and
Mhm.
yellow is the same. Like you're like, I recognize this from just looking at computers in the 80s. That's
Yeah.
all that
Yeah, it
was.
was that
Oh, yeah.
that wonderful EGA color scheme.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've only got 8 colors. Just go. This is what we're going to use.
Now, I did grow up watching this show. I remember watching Classic Concentration. If I was home, especially summertime, if I wasn't like out with friends, I was home watching morning game shows.
Sure.
I was a Price is Right, Classic Concentration, Press Your Luck. These were all other choice. I watched far too many game shows in the last few days. Um, but Concentration, I did watch quite a bit, and I also played the computer game. And one of the things that I remember from the computer game is that's where I learned, a new word from it, which was bequeath.
Nice.
Because the puzzle was a piece of paper with bequeath on it, and then plus E, and a nail and a sun. And the puzzle was Willie Nelson.
Ah.
And I learned
Oh.
bequeath. My friend and I were playing it. We could not figure out what this piece of paper with that word on it was at all. We lost, and then so we ended up going and looking it up in a dictionary and figuring out what the word meant. It's like will. Oh, it's a will. Okay.
Mhm.
And so like I learned that, and I also learned what an awl was. AWL.
Yeah.
I'd never seen one before, but they like to use that a lot in these
Yeah.
puzzles.
Yeah.
Whoever did the puzzles for this show, and I saw his name, but I can't remember it now. Really liked that imagery of an awl.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a good one.
It is. It is. But yeah, it was a show that ran for a few years, and it was just a lot of fun because it combines two different gaming things. It combines the memory game, which is one level of it, with also the puzzle. And there were people that were really good at the memory part of it and would rack up all sorts of prizes and then couldn't figure out the puzzle.
Like
There
Warren.
would be
Alex,
people.
I was gonna
Alex
say.
getting frustrated in the second game when they could not match things. I felt that. I was like, he's like, we're losing
Mhm.
concentration here. And I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, they just screwed that up so bad.
There were so many
And I
easy
watched.
ones. I was just so
Mhm.
mad.
But you have to
He's like,
wonder,
we
like,
told you one.
when you're watching it at home,
Oh, it's totally
it's
different.
it's completely different. Like I would absolutely 100% fail the car matching round at
Oh,
least once
Oh, yeah.
because you have 40 seconds, and if you don't make matches early on in that car round, if you don't make
And think
2 or
about
3
how long it
matches in
takes
your
you to
first
say
4,
them.
you're
Oh
done.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
And
it's, yeah.
I appreciated Laura's approach of like, I'm just gonna figure out where everything is, 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6. But
Yeah.
the memory bandwidth is exceeded real quick when you
Real
do
quick.
that. And the
Mhm.
likelihood of you
Mhm.
hitting 2 by doing it that way is not high.
Low.
Yeah.
No, it is not. So a little bit of history on Concentration as a game show. So it did begin in 1958. It was created by Jack Barry and Dan Enright, and it was on NBC. That was the station that it was on. Ran for 14 years, 3,770 telecasts.
Wow.
Good lord.
Ooh.
Um, the longest continuous run of any game show on that network. Had Hugh Downs was a host, which all I think of when I hear the name Hugh Downs is the really, really old news guy.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
something
Unlike,
serious has happened.
yeah, but he
The
was a
nation
game
is
show host for a
unprepared.
while.
Huh.
Bob Clayton also, and then for 6 months in 1969, Ed McMahon was the host
All
of
right.
Concentration.
I'd watch
Sure.
that.
Man.
It started off being filmed in New York at Rockefeller Plaza, but they ended up moving it out to LA later on.
Where you can get
Then
desperate
when
actors.
Yeah.
basically, yeah. It was funny because other episodes I watched, there was a woman who was like she was a play producer for like children's plays, and she ended up winning a video camera, and like a 1980s
Yeah.
full size VHS like shoulder mounted video camera. But it was a hell of a prize for her to take home because she could use that as a teaching tool.
Mm-hmm.
She was
Yeah.
pretty excited about it. When it came back in 58 to 73, it ran. And then ran in syndication for another 5 years after that. When finally, in 1987, they brought it back in July. So it started off as a summer show, and it ran until December of 1993. So it ran for in reruns. I'm sorry, it ran as a normal show until 91, and then they did a couple more years of reruns before just kind of ending it.
I am so
and
shocked that I don't know about this show because, like, that was the time I would have been sitting in front of the TV in the evening while my dad was eating dinner watching stuff.
So this was a daytime game show.
Oh, okay. It wasn't like
Yeah.
So
prime
this
time
was
It's like
Jeopardy.
the homesick day, and that is
Got it.
that for me. That was
Mm,
Price is Right, right? Is
Yes.
the
yeah.
Lipton chicken noodle soup, some saltines,
Yeah.
and the
Mhm.
Price is Right.
And
Is a
catheters.
sick day in the 80s.
And mail me the
Yes.
catheters and canes.
Yes.
Now I will say I did watch a lot of Price is Right when I had my sick days, which is why I almost chose that for tonight. But I did watch this a good bit too. I would bounce back and forth. I developed early on the ADD of a commercial break, change the channel, find something else to watch, and then watch that for, well, it's been 2 minutes. I got to go back to my other show because I hated commercials even back then. Like I tried to avoid them. Sometimes you just couldn't, but so they did start off, like I say, with just prizes and wild cards. The take was a big one to add on, those takes, because that did give like that other layer of gamesmanship where people would hold on to it and wait. Because I watched an episode where one one of them really wanted this trip. It was like a trip to Switzerland or something, and got it, and immediately got it taken away from them, and so then spent like the rest of the game trying to find the other take just so they could get that back. And they couldn't do it. So but yeah, there's with a game show there's not a ton to say. It's kind of hard, like there's not a lot to break down, but um I do think it's interesting to see kind of the types of people that end up on these shows, because they do film most of them in LA, and you end up with a lot of the struggling actors, the people that are out there. Or I also found it interesting. Every episode that I watched, it seemed like they always had people that were originally from the same part of the country playing against each other.
Mm-hmm.
Because I watched another episode where the first contestant was originally from Denver, but he moved out to California and was a pastor at a church. And then his opponent was originally from Denver, and she moved out to California. I'm like, well, that seems really coincidental.
Seems unlikely.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We watched one with somebody from Tennessee and Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
There was
Yeah.
another episode with two people from Georgia, just out of nowhere. So it just seemed to happen. I don't that can't be coincidental though.
No, they
It had
do
to be
this
something
crap
that
on purpose. They have them all lined up outside the studio to
Yep.
try and get a spot, and then
They give
somebody
them
with a
cards.
headset and a clipboard comes walking out and has a conversation with them and tries to see, like, where are you from? What are you doing? Tell me something interesting about yourself. Because they don't want to put like that weirdo who's like, I collect worms and put them in my socks at night. Like, they don't want that guy on the screen, you know? So they're
No.
trying to avoid that.
Now, Alex trying to get, was it Laura? Was that her name?
Yes.
Talking about
Yes.
family, right? And she's like, I got too many aunts and
I got
uncles
so
and
much family.
cousins. And he's like, well, your immediate family? Yeah, I got a brother and his wife, and they have 2 kids, and my sister and her husband, and they have 2 kids. And he's like, and you're single? Yes, I am. I'm painfully single.
So that hurt me.
Oh,
Thanks,
leave her
Alex.
alone,
Thank you.
Alex. I know it's 1987, but she's fine on her own. She teaches computers to little kids.
Yeah, she doesn't
Well,
They
need a man.
appreciate her. No, she don't
and
need no man.
what's great though is they never cut back to Alex throughout that whole
No,
part. It was
no.
just her, and you have to think his face is just like, how are you not getting what question I'm asking you? Like, this is very
Yeah,
simple.
right.
Yeah.
Because I don't think of it as him like trying to pry. It was more of like,
Well, it's
well, you
none
have
of
a
your
family at
damn
home, and she
business,
goes,
Alex.
but she goes in a completely different direction. He's like, how do I recover your immediate family? And she just like it
Same,
just
yeah.
cracked me up. It was
Just
so
goes down
funny.
the
Well,
same
she's
track.
like, take the hint, my man. Secret 80s lesbian, leave me alone.
There was so much to Alex's demeanor during
Confirmed
this show.
bachelorette, Alex.
I was so bothered for him that he was doing this, because you talked about how it felt below him when you watch him on Jeopardy and he's asking these high level intellectual questions. And then he comes on this show and he's like, we've got a moose plus a squirrel minus a beaver. And I'm just like, this is not what he wants to do. Like, he goes back to whoever wrote Jeopardy. What's that dude who did Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy? I don't know. He's just like,
Yeah.
you get me out of here, and I will give you 40 years of my life, but you've got to get me out.
Because you do wonder how soul draining was this for him.
Oh my
Just like,
gosh.
I mean, but the thing, yeah, but it's like you work a couple days a week, maybe. Like,
Yeah.
you're probably doing all
2
right.
weeks a year. 2 weeks a
Yeah,
year, I think,
you
is
know.
what they do.
Yeah.
I would be interested to know how many they shoot in a day, because they had like this show would
He's
play.
Canadian. He's got it.
This is like 4 or 5 days a
He's
week
fine.
that this show went. So I would be curious to know how many of them they would shoot in a day.
Yeah.
He was doing this concurrently with Jeopardy. He
Oh,
was
no
doing both
way.
at the same
it's
time.
fine.
Okay.
That's fine. This is a
This
a
is his
break.
side gig where he's like, all right, I'll go do your stupid show, but I'm keeping my question answer thing.
He did do a lot of banter with the contestants too. There was one again later on where he made it a point to like the one contestant had her nails done like really, really outrageously, and she had, you know, the ring finger was different than the rest of them. He thought that was fascinating. She had these huge earrings on that he pointed out, and then said something, and she kind of gave him like a little slap on the hand afterwards. He's like, I don't know if you saw that or not, but she just like she hit me, and I honestly deserved it. So he just keeps going.
I like if you look at Alex Trebek's IMDb page, other than Jeopardy, and this is not even on there. It should be, but like he is listed literally as just versions of himself, including oh god, I just scrolled past it. It was so good. Oh, on Rugrats, he was Alan Quebec. And
Nice.
there was another one here. Oh, and on Arthur, he was Alex Lebec.
That's
Nice.
amazing.
Just very
I like
good.
that.
And then just the rest of them, he's just Trebek.
Did they have to
Well,
pay
we
him
saw him-
differently if they
Like he's
used his actual
Shatnered
name?
hard. Yeah, right.
I mean, we saw him on the X-Files many,
Yeah.
many episodes
Yeah,
ago
that's
as
right,
himself,
yeah.
aka a man in black.
for some reason.
Why not?
Which
Why
was
not?
honestly one of the best, like, just out there, out of left field cameos in a show I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
Is having Alex Trebek as one of the men in black.
He's on Baywatch. What happened? The 90s were a wild time.
Well, I mean,
They really were.
Baywatch was a thing. Like everybody tried
Oh,
to
I
get on there
know.
at some point.
Yeah.
But why?
Because
Well, you
everybody
know.
was watching it. They
So
were
good.
watching those ladies
Mhm.
run on the beach.
Whatever,
He
man. I
did.
was
You
there
heard
for
the music.
Hasselhoff. You know, quality acting.
Listen,
Quality.
he did 1,000 episodes, 1,090 episodes of Classic Concentration. He hosted
Daggum.
Jeez.
What?
in 4 years. He made 1,000 episodes of this show that we watched. So
Yeah.
just to
That's
give you an
so
idea,
many.
that's so many over such a short period of time. It's being a game show host is not easy.
No.
It really is not. It takes a special type of person to do that. Like, think about Bob
Sometimes
Barker
it's not a
doing The
great
Price
type
is
of
Right
person.
for. No, this is true. But he did 1,000 episodes of that, and then how many episodes of Jeopardy did he do? Let's see,
Jeez.
8,210 episodes of
Good
Jeopardy over the
Lord.
course of almost 40 years
Wow.
of hosting Jeopardy. He did 8,000 episodes of that show.
The
That's
only show that I think I could do is something like Price is Right, where the games change every day, and they're
Sure.
all relatively end up being the same ones, but at least you get a little variety. Oh, we're doing the Plinko game today. That's exciting. We haven't done that in a
Everybody's gonna
while.
be hyped because Plinko.
Yeah, right. Everybody loves that. But, to do one of these games where it's literally the same steps every day. I mean, granted, like we were saying earlier, they do 2 to 2.5 weeks a year to record all this stuff. But it's still that's a soul sucking two
It's
and a
like you
half
just
weeks.
dissociate. You
Yeah,
just
you just become something else entirely for 2 weeks.
Mhm.
Pretty much.
By the way, Bob Barker did 6,719 episodes of The Price is Right. So
And how many
give you an
pets were
idea.
spayed or neutered?
Oh man, got to get that done.
Gotta get it done.
Then he retired and kicked Happy Gilmore's ass.
He didn't stop doing Price is Right until 2015.
Yeah, it was
Mhm.
recent.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's crazy to think of. Like, I always think of him just as from when I was a kid,
No.
and he already looked old then. But
No,
no, he
we
kept
were
doing it.
habitually late to our noon class at college because Price is Right was from 11 to 12, and we did need to see who won the showcase.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. And so this was a daytime game show, and that has been sort of replaced now by the daytime talk shows
Yeah.
that run weekly or run on weekdays. And game shows have pretty much been relegated to the game show channel or the few primetime ones that are left.
Yeah.
And we have seen some of the daytime game shows come back as primetime shows. I almost chose for tonight Press Your Luck was another
Oh
one that
yeah.
I nearly chose.
Oh.
No whammies, no whammies, no whammies.
And that came back and is currently running as a new show hosted by Elizabeth Banks. It's effectively the exact same show that it was, but now it's running in primetime.
Well, it's the
Mhm.
same show, Travis, but the production value has to be ramped up to $1 billion because now it's like the lights come down and the music goes whom and stuff like that. Like that's Who Wants to
Honestly,
Be a Millionaire taught us that. That's the trick.
Mhm.
you say that, but I watched an old episode of Press Your Luck and I watched a new one with Elizabeth Banks. And other than the video quality being better with Elizabeth Banks there, it was the same exact show.
Oh,
They
okay.
didn't do the overly dramatic lighting. They had the same animations for the whammies,
Hmm.
Nice.
just
Ah.
just updated a little bit.
Sure.
But it was the same animation style, and
Yeah.
it even looked the same, like it was just superimposed over.
I'd
Which
be willing to bet that because it's Elizabeth Banks, she put her foot down on that. Like,
probably
I would say
I
she's
could
got
see
the
that.
power to say how something's done.
Yeah.
But there are some shows that have done that. Family Feud has always kind of kept the same rough
Yeah.
look and style.
Mhm.
I guess I'm
And
Deal
personally,
or No Deal and Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Those are the ones where you can put where it's a pause and it's like you got to think about it, and that's where they do the
Mhm.
do 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 boo, 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 and you're like sitting at home yelling at the TV like it's C, oh my gosh, and just
Yeah.
throwing your popcorn.
I don't like that manufactured tension in the game shows
No.
personally. And maybe it's because I grew up with stuff like this where
Yeah.
it was literally just like I do like in concentration whenever somebody doesn't match properly and you hear the audience.
Yeah. Like,
You just hear,
ah.
oh,
Mhm.
because the audience all apparently knows where everything is.
They
Well, because
do.
they're
Yeah.
not under the stress either.
Yeah, they're not
I
under the
mean,
hot lights.
that guy got it wrong. Like they told us which one it was, and bro did get it wrong.
Yeah.
That was unfortunate.
Oh,
I was like,
That
come
I can't.
on,
the second
get your
round
head in
hurt
the
me.
game.
I
It was
love that.
not.
I love that Breton was new, like just graduated college, and he looked like someone's 40-year-old father.
Yeah.
Like the
Mhm.
80s were just rough on people, looking young. That mustache was on point for
I
a
was gonna
20
say.
whatever year old he was.
Yeah.
That was the thing. It was a lot of mustaches like that, a lot of lead paint and smoking. It
And that
ages you
hair.
quick.
Yeah, and the hair.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. He absolutely had middle-aged man haircut for sure.
you were born at 10 years old and just got older from there.
Well,
Mhm.
because I mean, it was different, right? Like now, we're like, no, I don't want to be old. But then I was like, I need to be an adult.
Yes.
Now that
Right,
I'm an
Yeah.
adult,
Yep.
I'm like, I do not, I do not care for this. Thank you.
And
I
yet,
hit
Alex
back.
Trebek looks exactly the same as he did.
Yeah.
Never really
I
looked
just looked
different.
at a very young picture of Alex Trebek, and he was a dish.
Oh yeah.
Holy smokes.
Hmm.
Yeah.
There were international versions of concentration as well. Anyone care to guess a country or two that maybe this show went off to? Because we obviously had it in the U.S. as
Mhm.
both concentration from 58 to 73 and classic concentration from 87 to 91. Um, as far back as, let's see, 1959, we've got it in another country.
Britland.
Yes, they had it 59 and then brought it back. They only ran it for like a year, 59 to 60, and then they brought it back in the late 80s for a couple of years. Let's see, we've got Vietnam had their own version of it from 2003 to 2007.
Nice.
We had New Zealand in the 70s for a year.
Gonna guess
Italy,
Brazil. Is there Brazil in there? I feel like they
no,
always pick
surprisingly not.
Yeah.
Colombia, though, close.
All right.
Colombia, so same continent.
not too far.
Actually,
I want
three iterations in Colombia.
now I want Duolingo to have rebuses in it because I will not be able to do them at all, and that'll be great.
Oh yeah.
It'd
There
be
you
so
go.
hard doing
You
it in
can't
another
forget
language.
crap that's difficult or that you fail at. Like you just remember it forever.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like remembering that bequeath means to give something away, to will it to someone else.
Yeah, you're
I will
never
never
gonna
forget
forget
that
it. Yeah,
because
it's locked in.
I failed so hard on that one.
So good.
Nothing. Hey, failure's the best teacher, Travis. It's good stuff.
Yes.
This is true. This is true. Um, so and I did mention how they changed the thing. You used to be able to win multiple cars, which I think is hilarious because the one thing that nobody ever talks about with game shows, the kind of dark underbelly of it, is the taxes that the people pay on all these
Mhm.
things that they win. And like
Mhm.
some of these people were winning $10,000 and $12,000 worth of prizes in one show in 1987.
So I did the inflation calculator for on our buddy Warren,
Okay.
and it's $30,575 or $757. Today that's just it's 80 grand.
Wow.
$80,460.
Daggone.
Mm,
And yeah, that's unearned income. That's
that
Mhm.
gonna kick you right in the teeth. That's why you're living in the
it
back
really.
of a LeBaron. You're just that's what you got.
But that so when it comes now, we're gonna get into some. I know none of us is an accountant, but I need to understand this, and maybe one of y'all knows. Prize money. Do they just deduct what taxes would be and then hand you what's left over? Is that right? Or do you do that later after the fact? That's question one. And then question two is when it's a car, are they like pay
Is the
me
value of the
the
car.
value? Yeah,
My
so
brother
they
won a
pay you.
car once and had to
Okay.
sell the car to pay the taxes on the
Oh
car. Like there was
snap.
money
Mhm.
left
Okay.
over, but he had to sell the car in order to pay the taxes on winning
Got
the
it.
car.
Okay. But with the cash prize money, you would just basically take the
I
chunk
don't know
that
if
you're
they'll
not
do it
allowed to.
for you, but
Right,
you
right, right,
could.
right. You
Yeah,
would
you
you
could
would
just slide
So
that
you
over.
could screw
Mhm.
yourself up by going, I'll probably make this back. I'll just
Oh
spend
yeah.
some and then it'll be all
Yeah.
right. All right. Well,
Yeah.
let's
Yeah,
consider
pretty
this a
much.
warning, everyone. If you go on Prices
Mhm.
Right and you win, refuse all the physical prizes and just take the cash money and set aside 87% or whatever it is that Uncle
It's
Sam
a
wants.
lot.
There we go.
Because that's the thing. Like Amy said, it's unearned income, so that's what
Right.
gets you that And it also depends on the state that you're in when you
Mhm.
win the prizes, and I think where you live,
It's a
I
Oh,
lot.
think makes a
They double
difference
dip. It's just a whole lot.
double
because there's
dips.
a whole lot
Oh.
that gets into it.
So
Mhm.
the state and the feds get it, and then when you go home, your state gets it. Those jerks, you end up
Yes.
being able to pay for your tickets to Los Angeles. So that's about it.
Yep.
It's also why most of your contestants used to be right around it. I think they've changed some of those rules because you're getting more and more people that will travel for that. Um, but definitely, for a long time, it was just the people that lived in the area. A lot of times were the ones that were the contestants, so they would just pay the California taxes.
Oh, okay.
I did I did notice one thing in this episode was when they were talking about the cars, they did not once mention that they had California emissions. And that kind of bummed me out because I was waiting for that. Because if you ever remember watching Price is Right, every single car they made it a point to tell you that it was California emissions. And I
It's like
always will
how
remember that.
every item tells you that it's whatever it is, the known to the state of California to contain chemicals that may cause
Yeah,
cancer, and it's
No Lord.
literally every object on the planet because existing has the potential to cause cancer.
it's true. It's very,
If
very
you
true.
eat it,
Uh,
I mean, come on.
But yeah, I mean, that's really what there is to say about classic concentration. It's a very simple premise. But it's a fun show to watch. And there's a ton of episodes on YouTube to watch, full episodes. Um, I think the contestants were a lot of fun because you get a mix of a whole bunch of different people. And it's great to watch because you do get a little bit of that drama where, especially when they start having the take cards,
Mm.
because you get like people that really want that one prize, so they're going to take it. And there was another one where the lady that had the big earrings, there was an earring set, and she wanted those, and the other contestant was like kind of bumming out about that. And she goes, "What? Do you have somebody that would like them?" It's like, "My mom would really like those earrings." She goes, "You know what? You keep them," and like didn't use the thing, which I thought was
Oh,
awesome.
Oh.
She ended up winning anyway, so he didn't get the prize,
yeah.
but because they
She
get their
could have given it
consolation
to him
prize.
for his mom, but instead,
Yep. But
that
then she
was the
beat him.
best. Was the end with the like custom like contestants may receive, and then it was like a very long list of items.
Yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
all their consolation
Chocolate
prizes.
for your alone time. That was a good one.
Yeah.
The-
The CD player?
One,
The CD player in 88? Are you kidding me?
yeah,
That's
oh
a
yeah,
yeah,
prize.
yeah.
changer too. That wasn't just a CD
Yeah.
player. That was like a 12 disc cartridge changer.
Right?
Um,
I had one of those
there was
cartridge style ones before. You put all the discs in it and then you slid it in there.
yeah,
That's
Yeah.
cool.
Mhm.
they had some pretty cool prizes, I will say. Like, and they would always showcase one, and it was usually the weakest of the prizes to me. Every time they would showcase
Mhm.
something, it was the exercise bike, or it was like a piece of art that you would put on the wall, and then the rest of the prizes were like the Apple computer
Yeah.
or a VCR
Or the
or,
VCR game show video thing that,
Yes,
you
the
know,
yeah,
Three
a big prize,
Stooges.
and it's like you can find that for $1 at Walmart now. Like they're trying to give it away.
The Three
yep.
Stooges video cassette game.
Mhm.
And of course, the trips to, there would be trips in usually every game
Yeah.
had a vacation somewhere, which makes you wonder what would they do if nobody won particular vacation? They just like
You just roll it
not
over.
do it
Yeah.
Roll
because
it
I
over, and then
Because I
hours
never
mean,
at
I
the end of
never
the
people.
saw
season, it's
the
like,
same
great,
one
I got a
twice.
trip.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they must have, or they just changed like you change what it says, right? So like if it's
Yeah,
like, a
Mhm.
trip to Denver and then it's like, oh, ski vacation in Colorado. It's the same trip. Like
Right.
they just changed the name.
Or it's just a value they know they have a trip for, and they just change it based
Yeah.
on the value.
oh, that's probably what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
through
my.
like a travel agency.
With
Mhm.
airfare from LA every time. So like,
Right.
Oh yeah,
yeah, that's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. You always had to get yourself to LA, and then they'd fly you
Mhm.
wherever it was. But they had I also noticed later episodes would have a theme because I watched one where the trip was a trip to Hong Kong,
Ooh.
and they also had like oriental style rug and
Mm.
Chinese style lamps, and like everything was very Asian themed. And I didn't notice that in any other episode, but like this particular one felt like, oh, somebody decided we're going to theme all our prizes this time around.
Yeah.
Huh.
Okay.
Huh.
So
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, that's classic concentration, and that's kicking off game show month, which
Mhm.
I was pretty excited to have this one come about because there are so many. I can't tell you how hard it was to decide on classic concentration. It really, really was difficult. Um, and I'm kind of glad that I did because it brought back when Amy mentioned in our chat the computer game. I probably spent more time than I should have this evening playing classic concentration
I
in the
didn't connect
browser.
it in my head. Like when you said the name, and I didn't put it together until I started. Well, until they got to the car round, and then I was like, wait a minute, I'm really good at this.
And here's the thing: if you watch enough episodes of this show, you're going to hear in your sleep
Mhm,
Oh
mhm.
yeah.
that sound of the electronic, the visual of the door moving to display what prize it was.
So good.
You know what I really like, Travis? The commercial break where I got to hear this gym.
Liberty Mutual Accident Forgiveness means they won't hike
Your free catheter sample pack.
Okay, so that was a bad edit in the YouTube that just slid up so
Mhm.
well
So
together. I
good.
was like, oh, they
It
won't
was so
overcharge you
good.
for your catheter pack.
That was very good. Better than
Yeah.
some of the other ones that I would watch on YouTube that just had like the "we'll be right back," and then it would go for like a minute. I'm like, just cut that. You don't need
Yeah.
all of this. We don't care. Just cut it. Get back to the damn show.
Yeah.
So
Do the work for us. Come on.
come on,
Mhm.
that's what you're here for. So that was classic concentration. Now, Audie, next week, you've got a game show for us, do you not?
I do. I need to figure out which episode, but I was trying to think of something, but I couldn't get this one out of my head because I almost picked it for Educational Week, but I decided to hold on to it. So next week we're gonna watch Where in the World is Carmen San Diego?
That was my other
Oh
pick
boy.
from the
What?
one that I picked. That was my backup pick.
Oh man. I'm ready.
We're gonna listen to a
Oh,
little rockapella and then get into the game.
I cannot wait. I love Where in the World is Carmen San Diego.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
watched so much of that growing up. So that's going to be super fun. Where in the World is Carmen San Diego next week? Now, you can send us feedback. Did you watch Classic Concentration? Did you watch Where in the World is Carmen San Diego? Do you remember these all? Or are you like Steven, who was being introduced to this for the very first time, and Audie as well? Let us know. We're on Twitter at Those Days Show. There is also an email, those were the days show at gmail.com. We'd love to get your emails there. We got no feedback this week coming off of Reading Rainbow, but even if it's an older episode, send us your feedback on an older episode. We just got done with educational shows. We had a blast with those. That
Oh
was
man. Yeah, that was great.
so much fun, and I feel like this month is going to continue just that.
And
So
we've been
I'm
doing
really
this
looking.
show for a year, you guys. This is the
Yeah.
anniversary episode. I just got notified like yesterday that we've been up to this for a
Wow,
year.
Not
a
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So much
That's crazy
fun.
to think because
Well
it doesn't
done.
it feels like we just started doing this like a couple months ago.
Yeah.
That's
It
because we
really
don't know what we're
does.
doing
Right.
Well,
at
yes.
any point.
Yeah.
We're figuring it out.
So and we also do stream the show live Monday nights at twitch.tv/2dorkstv. Find the show anywhere you get your podcast. Those were the days. Look for the awesome artwork from Audie, displaying the four of us in our favored Saturday, Sunday cartoon comic look.
Mhm.
Every time I look at that image, it just makes me smile. So next week is Where in the World? I cannot wait. Where in the World is Carmen
I'm
San Diego?
so pumped.
So good.
Mhm.
But until then, everybody, you just enjoy that old TV. There's so much of it out there to watch, and play some classic concentration. See if you can guess those puzzles, because some of them are harder than you think.
They
We'll
are.
put a link of that on the Twitter.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah.
All right. Until next week, for Amy, for Steven, for Audie, I'm Travis saying, have a great night, and yeah, good luck.